Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Catherine and it is awesome to have you with me here today. I feel like we haven't done a speed build in a while, so I do want to apologize for that, but I have something that I think is super special that I wanted to share with you guys today. So this is my off-the-grid snowy cabin, and when I was trying to design this, I needed to get a thin layer of snow. The only way to do that is to get into the game and actually sit and play it. And so since I had to do that, I ended up making a brand new sim that I absolutely fell in love with. So this is going to be the story of Quintin. Quintin is a loner type sim. He's also gloomy and creative. I think we also gave him the Renaissance aspiration so that he'd be a quick learner, because I wanted him to be an artsy type person. I wanted him to be this very almost stereotypical, like sad and thoughtful, and also mildly environmentally conscious, because that's how we ended up with an off-the-grid house. His parents died when he was young, I want to say about 16, so he largely was of an age where he could continue to take care of himself, and frankly inherited a good chunk of money along with the house. And since then, he's been working on making it as sustainable as possible. You'll see as we work through this that he has some solar panels on the roof. Most of the lighting is in the form of candles. There's not a lot of actual electrical anything. All of the appliances are off the grid. I did everything I possibly could to try and get him there. And while we wait for those solar panels to generate enough electricity, those are what's going to feed into the lights and things like that. After high school, Quintin went on to do some freelance artwork, so that's what he does for a career, and as he is working on that, he needed to chat with one of his clients, but because he doesn't have electricity in his home, he doesn't have a computer. Why in the world the Sims won't just let us use our cell phones to chat with clients, I don't really know, but we're not going to worry about that. So Quintin goes to a library in Willow Creek in order to use the computer fairly regularly. While he is there, he also spends a little time at the chess table, thumbing through some books, things that people do at libraries. Quintin spent a lot of time in the library and ended up getting to know the librarian very well. His name was Subara. He was also a huge literature buff. He just adored reading and especially adored very rare copies of old literature. It was almost like a collection to him, like a status symbol to have these incredible works of art who had paths through history that we couldn't even imagine. That kind of idealism really struck Quintin, and he very much started to like the librarian. Over time, they became extremely close friends, which is when Quintin started to realize that maybe he had a crush on his friend. Quintin had never had a date in his life. He'd never been interested in anyone in his life. At the time in which he would have started thinking about dating, his parents ended up passing away, and it took up so much of his emotions and mental wherewithal that he just couldn't focus on it. So finding someone that he liked, and also finding out that maybe he wasn't straight, was a very hard thing for Quintin to come to terms with. Eventually, he decided that it was only fair to Subara to tell him the truth and to tell him what his true feelings were. He decided to do this at Winterfest, so Subara and his best friend Mila had come over. They did a gift exchange. Quintin had ended up getting this extremely rare volume for Subara to have. It was a blue leather-bound book, and Subara absolutely loved it. In exchange, he had gotten a really fancy digital camera for Quintin. Quintin was working on doing photography, and it was extremely thoughtful. And eventually, Quintin had to tell him what he was feeling. Subara did not appreciate it, and he got very, very angry very, very quickly. He couldn't understand what his friend was telling him and left in a huff. When he left behind his book. Quintin was hurt. Not only had his friends said mean things, but Quintin wasn't even sure if he understood all of it himself. And now to have potentially lost a friend out of that same rejection was extremely difficult for him. He became very recluse and ended up throwing himself into his paintings. It was utterly unhelpful until Mila finally had to snap him out of it and tried to convince him to go outside and meet people. And so, Quintin finally relented on the day after New Year's. New Year's Eve was too many people, and it was too fast and too loud, and he didn't want that. He wasn't like Mila. Mila could handle those kinds of parties. Mila could have a lot of fun with a bunch of other people, but not Quintin. That just didn't work for him, and he didn't want to be around that kind of high energy. He just wanted to figure out how to get his friend back. Quintin went out to the bar on the day after New Year's Eve because Mila had been pushing him and he really shouldn't be staying home inside and not talking to anybody for a week. She was right, and that was not a good habit for him. Quintin was very thankful that he had taken her advice because he met a very strange man there, a man named Joshua. Joshua was a seasonal ski instructor, new in town, and he would be quick to leave out just as easily. Where that relationship is going to go, I don't really know yet. I'm still excited to see how this game plays out. If you have any suggestions for what you want the story to be like between Quintin, Joshua, Subara, and other players, I would absolutely adore it if you would leave that down in the comments for me. I'm gonna try and develop this into a real story. I have started writing it out, so it is in narrative form. If that's something that you would want to see, please also leave a remark in the comments about it, or hit the like button or something, so that way I know that that's the kind of content that people want. I love building stories, and I love crafting new characters and figuring out their lives, and it makes designing their homes so much easier when you know who they are. So any input that I can get from you guys in terms of what kinds of stories you want to see would be amazing, and I love writing, so let's do that. If you've made it this far in the video, I do want to thank you very, very much. I am going to let the music run for the rest of this, and you can see the rest of Quintin's house. Like I said, we designed it as an off-the-grid house with a lot of solar energy generators. It is on my gallery, so you are going to be able to download that. It is Lady Alpha 001, and if you end up making a different story with this, I would love to hear about that too. Let me know what your characters are like and the kinds of things that they spend their time doing. I love making the stories, and I love building the homes that go with the stories. So anyways, I love you all so very, very much. Like I said, like button for if you like these kinds of stories, comments if you want to add in what we do during this story, and hit the subscribe button as well if you want to keep getting more content like this. Anyways, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.